I learned that you have, what is the amount of time that you have to get from class to class? 6 minutes? Does that seem fast to you, or does that seem like you're easily going from point A to point B? Does it go by fast? Okay. There was a very real likelihood that I would have been dead in that amount of time. A body can bleed out in 5 minutes. So you take away a minute from the amount of time that you went from your last class to this class, just tick those seconds off in your head. By the time you left where you were until the time you got here, I died. I had that much potential of dying because of my blood loss. I really shouldn't even be here right now. Doctors gave me a 7% chance of surviving my motorcycle crash on March 20th, 2 years ago. That'd be 2 years and a week ago. At 27th and Stockwell here in Lincoln. So I would like you to be aware of time today, because we're not talking much time at all. I have taken the time to go back and look at ambulance records and dispatch records, en route records, at patient side departure records. And it amazes even me, and I've been in this business here in Lincoln for 35 years, and I've heard thousands and thousands of ambulance calls. And I have a clock in my head, but when you're the victim, when you're the person being picked up and transported, it takes on a whole new context. My crash happened at about 3:50 in the afternoon, first day of spring. A day a lot like this, sunny but cool. So I had 2 motorcycle jackets on and took off for the grocery store. Got to 27th and Stockwell, stopped at traffic. There was a pedestrian wanting to cross to the U-stop. And I saw this white car beside me in the turn lane, wanting to turn. Traffic proceeded, I proceeded. Next thing I knew, I don't remember being hit. Didn't see me and turned into my motorcycle. Tried to keep it up, hit the curb, have a low-riding cruise bike, so it's about 6 inches off the ground. Curbs are about 8 inches, 7 inches, so I didn't make it. Threw over the handlebars about 21 feet. Landed in the grassy median between the street and the sidewalk. And I knew right away that I was hurt. I felt no pain. Hi, hon. My leg was messed up. First thing I wanted to do was make sure that the 16-year-old who hit me didn't drive away. Plenty of people at the U-stop, so they had him stopped. But as I panned, lying there on the grass, I saw the sole of my shoe on my left leg. Saw that the 16-year-old was still there, so I panned back, and my jeans were purple. One thing, my very first decision on the scene was to not pass out. Couldn't pass out, because I would be useless to anybody. So I gave my name, my phone number, my address. My wife's name, her phone number and address, which is the same, isn't it? Okay. And our son's phone number, address, phone number, and kept repeating them over and over and over again. I can remember distinctly telling people that I've got to stay awake, got to be of help to somebody. I've got to let them know who I am, who they need to call. So that happened at 3:50. 4 minutes later, engine 4, with a paramedic on board by the name of Guy Pinkman, arrives. So we're talking 4 minutes. I've been on the ground 4 or 5 minutes. He gets out of the ambulance, he walks over, and I've interviewed him and the other firefighters, so it's been amazing to get their testimony of this. His leg's not right. It's messed up. And so he put a tourniquet on my leg, just above what was left of my left leg. That single act more than likely saved my life, because it kept me from bleeding out right there on the grass. So he puts a tourniquet on my leg, loads me into the ambulance. I'm a load and go, which means we do nothing to him on the ground. We get a board behind his back, we lift him up, we put him in the ambulance, and we go. Medic 8, I said engine 4 responded first. They were from 27th and Old Cheney. Medic 8 is from 17th and Van Dorn, and you would think they would have arrived sooner. They arrived 3 minutes later. So they loaded me into the ambulance at about 4:03. So your time frame is 5:50 or so for the crash, 4:03. I've been on the ground now for about 17 minutes. So I'm still lucky to be alive. That tourniquet saved my life. He arrived 4 minutes. I was looking at about a 2-minute buffer, potentially. No pulse in my leg from the knee down. It was broken in 7 places from the knee to the ankle. I was bleeding out. I was dying. So a load and go. They inject 2,000 cc's of solution. Ambulances don't carry blood. It's too perishable. So they applied 2,000 cc's. That's about 6 units. The bags, you see, it's about 6 of those in a short run. I'm in stable condition at this time. It's still, my body is still, doesn't know quite what's going on, so I'm in stable condition still. But by the time I get to the emergency room and the trauma bay, I'm unstable. What's happened is that my blood pressure is going down and my pulse is going up. My heart is doing everything it can to pump what little blood I had left in me. So my pulse is high, but I don't have any volume. My tank is down. So they're in the trauma bay is a refrigerator, small little apartment-sized refrigerator that holds 5 units. Generally speaking, 5 units is enough to get an idea of what's going on with someone in trauma. I use 4 of them. I'm on a device called a Belmont. A Belmont is a transfusion pump. You're used to seeing the gravity. A gravity-fed unit of blood will dispense in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. The Belmont pumps it in 3 minutes. I went through, well, there aren't enough people in this room. If you all donated a unit, I wouldn't have had enough. 27 units of blood products. Could have been red blood cells, could have been whole blood. 27 units. There aren't enough people in this room to have kept me alive for 5 hours. So I have the Belmont pumping blood into me at a rate of about 3 minutes per unit. And I go through 4 of the refrigerated units in trauma bay while they call the blood bank, the good folks at the blood bank, to type, and they send them lab results and type it and get some blood sent my way. But in the meantime, I've been intubated to help me breathe, and now I'm going into hemorrhagic shock. That's when my blood pressure goes down, my pulse goes up because I'm just bleeding out too much. Now they have another reason to try to get me stable. But my body's compensating. At one time I heard a cardiologist was called because they thought I was going to have a heart attack because I was just pumping so fast. Pain management was controlled by paralysis. They paralyzed me and sedated me to keep me from feeling any pain. At my side, when I rolled into trauma bay, there are approximately 25 people here. There were 15 to 20 people that just swoop in. This is what trauma bay does when you get a Cat 1 rolling in. You get priority. You get tables that are only reserved for you. If someone else comes in and they're a Cat 2, they get a different table. I get 15 to 20 people. And this is everything from the trauma doctor to the vascular surgeon to ortho. Vascular is the blood in the veins and the reconstruction. Ortho would be your bone specialist. Let's see how badly this body is broken. But you also have, you have pharmacy techs. You have X-ray people, you have respiratory people, you have the trauma surgeon, you have a recording nurse, you have a task nurse. The task nurse performs, the recording nurse records what the task nurse performs. I have pages and pages of transfusion records that document seconds and times and names and rooms. It's just completely fascinating to me, the amount of time and the documentation that they are able to put down on paper while all of this chaos is going on. There's an issue with my hemoglobin. It's down to 9.2, and I think a manageable amount is about 13.5. And what the hemoglobin, you probably know this already. It's the protein in the blood which carries oxygen from the lungs to the body's tissue and then returns the carbon dioxide from the tissues back to the lungs. I just didn't have enough blood. 3 minutes per unit, and they still couldn't keep enough blood in my body. So a decision is made in trauma to take me to OR. That decision is made by the vascular, the ortho, and the trauma doctor. I'm an ONAG. ONAG is the universal, correct, Jamie? I'm an APOS, so they do their cross references. They get me some blood. I'm still on the Belmont. I'm on the Belmont for 5 hours, which is hellaciously unusual to be pumping that much blood. Now, they can slow it down. I know people are doing the math, but they can slow it down, speed it up, and swap unit. They can swap solutions in, too. There was a point where they stopped the Belmont because they wanted to see how I would react if I was stable and my body could take over. It couldn't. They lit the Belmont back up. As a matter of fact, there's an OR nurse that calls for more blood because I still don't have enough blood in blood units. 2 hours after the crash, they're still asking for blood. Now think about this, 27 units. Again, everybody in this room donates a unit. You can. That wasn't enough. The vascular surgeon determines that the best way to save my life is to amputate my leg. And the tourniquet then is taken off my leg at approximately, I want to say about 20 minutes into this, but then that opens up the hose. And so they put the tourniquet back on because they still haven't got it stopped yet. I lost my leg. It's about halfway from my knee up. Got about that much leg on my left. The vascular surgeon kept taking, my wife can attest to this, she had to make the decision. An inch at a time, trying to find some tissue, trying to find something that was viable. He even at one point was thinking about taking some veins from a different part of my body and reconstructing my leg. But as I said, broken in 7 places, no pulse. By the time I even got to the hospital, the decision was to amputate, and it was the right decision. The alternative would have been maybe a draggy foot. Follow me on this. A draggy foot, which my wife knows me well enough. That's not me. An amputation is more like me, because you can go on with life, and I have. So I'm on the Belmont for 5 hours. I finally become stable at 2040. The crash was at 1550. I'm okay. 5 hours later, I'm stable. My lab tests were coming back, and they were good. They were starting to stabilize. The amputation was done. Now they take me up to ICU. So I've gone from trauma bay, ER, to an operating room, to ICU. It's about 10 o'clock at night. So they've been working on me for almost 6 hours. In ICU, one of the first things I remember is, well, Prince is in the news again today. Fentanyl. He died of an overdose. I think it was 6 times the recommended prescription dose of fentanyl. I was on fentanyl with oxygen. What fentanyl does, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that what fentanyl does is the brain tells the body to stop breathing. Convinces the body that breathing is not necessary, so let's just stop. I had an air breather, an oxygen into my nose. One of the little nose pieces came out, so I'm getting half the oxygen that I'm supposed to get on fentanyl. And there's an OR nurse in there, an ICU nurse, and I told her, I said, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. It's to about here. And she notices that I have my oxygen displaced. So she says, just put it back on your nose, and you'll be all right. In about that tone of voice. And she's amazing. There's Jackie. And I came back. Now we have the miracles that are taking place in ICU. One of the first things I asked day 2, how do I get out of this bed? How can you get me out of this bed? Well, we have this device. It's kind of tall, and you hang on to some handles, and you lean across it and get it. I want to walk. I want to get out of this bed. So they pull me off to the side, and the physical therapist says, let's go half a lap around ICU. So we do the half lap, and I said, let's just keep going. So we finished that half lap, and went around the rest of the ICU. And I wanted to go again, and thank goodness she said no, because that really took a lot out of me, that first trip. 3 days in ICU, 11 days in the hospital. We go home, we start making the adjustments. I'm on 3 months disability. Coming down for both of us on the calendar in September. This happened in March, 3 months disability. I crash on the first day of spring, go back to work on the first day of summer. 3 months. 2.5 months later, we're scheduled to take a trip to Peru to climb Machu Picchu and tour the Inca ruins. And we toyed with the idea of not going for about 5 minutes and then decided that was foolish. So we go. And with a prosthetic, not nearly as sophisticated as the one I have now, but with the use of a basic prosthetic leg, I managed to climb Machu Picchu, and for about a week we went around the Inca ruins of Peru. And I went everywhere everybody else went, albeit a little slower. We saw everything we wanted to see. And when we got back, I was so amazed with what the Incas had done that we both realized that we needed to take action ourselves too. So we got a hold of the 16-year-old that hit me. And we met him and his parents. And it was pretty dramatic. We were sitting around at a table at a coffee shop. And I remember leaning over the table and I said, you hit the right guy. I drove here. I walked in. I'll walk out. I'll go to my job. I've got my wife. You hit the right guy. I didn't die. And I think that was something he needed to hear. The fact that my life hadn't stopped and neither should his. That he needed to keep going. Get a good night's sleep. Be a better driver for me, please. Be a better driver. Look for motorcycles. But that was a good cleansing conversation for all of us. And I'll circle back to where I started with all this, and that is there are not enough people in this room to have kept me alive. There might be 27. Just enough people in this room to have kept me alive. And I got up on stage at the Rococo and I thanked those people. They don't know who they are, but I thanked people who donate, because you don't know where your blood is going. You just do it because it's the right thing to do. I donated the other day. It took me 12 minutes. But the time the needle went in and the needle came out, it was 12 minutes. That's it. It takes longer to do the paperwork than it does to donate blood. And so there really are no excuses. Oh, I didn't have time. Oh, this and that. So that's where you all come in, is to help other people understand the simplicity of it and the importance of it. Because had it not been for over 24 people thinking, yeah, I donate blood today, Cool. Over and over and over again. Cool. I'm going in and donating blood. I wouldn't be able to be here and appreciate my wife and appreciate my home and appreciate you all for what you do in your school. And if you can convey just a little bit of that and get one extra person to come, you all get one extra person. That's 24 people that are donating blood. That's 24 people. That's enough almost to save me. If you each got one extra person to come walking in. So I just want to leave some time for any questions that you might have. I really appreciate you coming because, as I said at the beginning, I'm the one that shouldn't be here. I should be dead. So thank you. Anybody got any questions?
Plenty of time. We got 10, 12 minutes for questions about the doctor's story or talk about blessing. Don't be shy.
Am I right in the concept that that's what you do? You coordinate a blood drive here at Southeast, right? Okay. How do you go about that? Anybody here coordinate that? How do you do that? You put out posters, you go to different classes. I don't know.
Yeah, this is our first year that we took over it, so we helped with, who did it last year? FBLA?
Okay.
Yeah. So we're taking it from them.
Okay.
They're graciously giving it to us.
Okay.
In the past, they are really good at making it like aware to the rest of the school, so there's announcements constantly going on. Any of the FBLA kids like asking their kids, and there's a lot of posters.
Yeah. What kind of turnout do you get?
This high school collects the most from a Lincoln Classic.
Cool. Good.
Anywhere between 85 to 100 units plus we've gotten here before. So this high school does a phenomenal job.
Good.
Of organizing drivers.
Very cool. Very good.
Some people have given blood.
Thank
I know
you.
sometimes
Thank you. Thank you.
aren't old enough quite yet, so maybe.
What is the age, Jamie? 16?
You have to have parental permission form signed with for 16-year-olds, but otherwise just 118 pounds, basic requirements for that.
And if you guys have any other questions too for
Yeah.
Jamie, or like they are our blood bank representatives, so like do you have requirements or questions about who or when? Because I know someone was telling me, Chanel, you turned 16 like on the day of the blood drive or something.
What day?
30th.
I turned 16 on the 29th.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been such an experience for me to meet the men and women who get their hands dirty in this all the time. To meet Guy Pinkman, to have Guy come up and to shake his hand and his hands put a tourniquet on my leg to keep me alive. To see Nurse Jackie, who just calmly told me to put my oxygen back in my nose and kept me alive. To Dr. Okerson, the trauma doctor, trauma surgeon, the head of trauma at Bryan West, to meet him and to talk to him. And he was so confident, just so, you're going to be all right. And it wasn't this phony plastic, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. Dr. Getch, the vascular surgeon, I called him up, what was it, 2 years ago, last Tuesday, I called him up and I said, thank you. Thank you very much for taking my leg, because I'd have been dead. And I've had no issues. You can think of all the possible problems that go along with an amputation. The surgery goes bad. The healing process goes wrong. The hydraulics don't work. The leg doesn't work. It's the wrong size. It's fill in the blank. I've had nothing like that. I work at it. But in some ways, this is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Because of the people that it has introduced into my life, I've changed, not consistently, but I've changed. I'm more grateful. I probably wasn't as much before. But I'm here. I wouldn't be here if this hadn't happened to me, to meet all of you and to talk to groups. So in a lot of ways, I have not had any bitterness at all from the minute I knew it was gone to now. It's just because this morning when you got up, I'm guessing that the last thing that you thought about was getting out of bed and walking. Walking to the bathroom, walking to wherever you're going, the kitchen, walking wherever you're going. It's the first thing I have to think of. Where's my chair? Where'd I put my chair? Where's my shoe? That sort of thing. But you do it just like you put on your watch, just like you put on your rings, just like you put on your necklaces, your ear, just like you put on things every day. You just go. Glasses. You just go. And you fill the day up. You just fill the day up. And then it's time to go to bed and do it again. I attend a support group, amputee support group. You can tell people when they walk in the room that they really haven't accepted their new shape. Kind of slump-shouldered, kind of a woe is me kind of look to their face. And who knows what's going on in their life, but I just hope for them that they come to accept their new body the way I have. Because I'm not growing it back. It's not, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and grow a new leg. So it's again, probably one of the best things that's happened. So thank you for what you do here at Southeast, okay? Appreciate that a lot.